On the previous episode of Breaking Point, Casper Ackerman and Aiden Jackson made contact once again at the Chinese Grand Prix, and at the end of the race, Devin Butler told us that Casper Ackerman did not want Racing Point to sign us in the first place, so tensions are high between my teammate and me coming into episode 3. Welcome back everyone to Breaking Point Chapter 3, this time on the Formula Jonah YouTube channel at the French Grand Prix. We are 2 months after the Chinese Grand Prix events that happened in Chapter 2. So let's go down to the track and see what type of action Aiden Jackson can give us on track.
Thank you for joining us once again as we get another Formula 1 Grand Prix underway. 6 lefts and 9 rights give us a total of 15 corners here at the circuit Paul Ricard, and a lap covers an overall distance of 3.6 miles. Average speeds will be somewhere in the region of 142 miles per hour, and they'll be maxing out on the Mistral Straight at around 205 miles per hour. Here we are then at the circuit Paul Ricard in France, the 10th race of the 2020 Formula 1 season. And the standings are starting to take some kind of shape, Ant.
Yeah, exactly. You've got your big three jostling for position at the top, so no surprises there. A little less predictable in the midfield, though you could make an argument for Racing Point underperforming somewhat.
The 2 Racing Point drivers denying each other points, perhaps. Well, it's all to race for, and a lot of season left ahead of us. So let's see how it all pans out. With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Leclerc, Daniel Kvyat and Ricciardo, Norris, Vettel, Sainz and Pierre Gasly, Ocon, Ackerman, Devin Butler and Albon, Giovinazzi, Grosjean, George Russell and Aiden Jackson, Magnussen and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
So we're down on the track and we're in 18th position, so we're going to have to make a recovery drive, and I do believe our objective is to beat both McLarens and both Renaults. So let's get this race underway here at Paul Ricard. The 5 red lights are out, and it looks like a very good start compared to the drivers around us. We do get past the Haas, and then we're going to try and make a move on the Red Bull of Albon, who did not have the best qualifying in this race. But we do dance it round the outside of the Red Bull racing car, and we're up into P13. And look who's just ahead of us, our rival, and of course our teammate as well, Casper Ackerman. Let's see if we can make a move on the Racing Point driver. Oh my goodness, and I almost made contact with him as he was going pretty slow, but we're going to go around the outside, but there's not much room to work with there. And so we cut to the inside and eventually do get past my teammate. So we're up into 12th from 18th on the grid. I'd say that's a pretty decent start. And we come to the end of this straight, and you can see a few drivers battling up there. Maybe we can get in on the action. And here's our first driver that we do have to overtake to beat the objective. It's Esteban Ocon in the Renault, the first of the 2 Renaults. And we're going to try and use a lot of that ERS to get past the Renault into the lawn right-hander. So at the end of the turn, we do get past Ocon, and now we're coming through turn 11, and I see a space on the left here. I'm going to try and make the overtake on Gasly, and you know what? It's worked out. I've made the move on the AlphaTauri driver in a place that you don't see overtakes that often, so I'm quite happy with that. So anyway, we move on. We've got past 8 different drivers into the first lap alone, so I'm pretty satisfied with my first lap. And I gotta say, the car is handling really well today at this track. Back to the action, and at the first turn, we are now trying to overtake Sebastian Vettel, who was a little slow off that exit, so I kind of had to brake, and I get a little run off of that little straight there, but I couldn't make the move into this end of the first sector here. But that's okay, there's always the DRS zone. There's no DRS though, so I'm going to have to use maybe a little bit of ERS to try and get past Vettel. A little understeer through that turn 6 that was. I decided to save my ERS for this section of the track instead of wasting it all on the straights, and now I'm much closer through the exit of 9 and into 10, using ERS to try and get past Vettel, and eventually we do get past the Ferrari. And now we're going to try and lunge it around the outside of turn 12 to try and make a move on Kvyat, but we did not get past there, so I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer to make the move on the AlphaTauri. And actually, I got a lot of speed through the last couple of turns here, and I'm going to go down the inside And Kvyat surprisingly went for the switchback maneuver, showing that the AI are a lot more better in this year's game compared to the previous game, but we do eventually stay ahead of the AlphaTauri. I'm now all over the back of the drivers that I do need to overtake. Ricciardo, the second Renault, just ahead. I was going to try and make a move like I did with Gasly, but there's just not enough space. But I'm going to try and go around the outside, use a lot of the outside line there, and get past Ricciardo into turn 12. We're still side by side with the Renault though. That Renault has got major speed. I'm going to try and give him as much space on the left side, and then just use a lot of power to get past into the final turn here. And eventually I do get past Ricciardo, so that was good. And now I have to try and make an overtake on the McLarens just ahead. So I've got past the two Renaults. Now I have to make the move on the McLarens. I'm all over the back of Norris in the first McLaren, and I'm thinking my best chance to make an overtake will probably be in the DRS zone. And of course I have DRS now, as it is lap 4. And so I'm trying to use that ERS, use that DRS to try and get past the McLaren. I'm going to go on the inside line now, and Norris doesn't give us too much space, but there is enough space to work with, and I go down the inside on the McLaren and just about get ahead of Lando Norris. So that's good. I eventually do get past the McLaren, but now I'm starting to get a little bit of degradation with the soft tires, as the Paul Ricard Circuit is really difficult when it comes to the soft tires. But a few laps later, and we're now all over the back of Leclerc, who actually just got overtaken by Sainz. So that's actually not good for me. I have to overtake the McLaren, and the Ferrari could hold me up here. So this is not the ideal situation, but don't worry, we still have to make a pit stop, and maybe we'll get the undercut on Sainz. But now we move on a little bit later. The clouds are starting to move in, and I have to make this move on Leclerc. So I'm going to try to go for it as Leclerc makes a little contact with me. I'm not sure what that was about. I don't think he saw me. You can see the little collision with Leclerc. But don't worry, it's just a warning. No 5-second penalties or anything like that. I'm now going to come into the pit lane, but Sainz also comes into the pit lane. And so Sainz actually covers me off. And I'm thinking, I don't think I can overtake Sainz in the pit lane, because of course he's pitting now. I can't get the undercut strategy, so it's all up to my team now to see who gets the better pit stop here. I'm now going to pit. Sainz is pitting, and I think Sainz might have just been held up in the pit lane, but let's see how this pit stop is. It's a good pit stop at 2.3 seconds, and we do get ahead of Sainz pretty comfortably as well. I think Sainz may have been held up in the pit lane, but the fact of the matter is that we did get ahead of Sainz, and we have now got ahead of the objective here. So all I have to do is defend against the McLarens and the Renaults and hold the position, and hopefully we'll complete the objective. So we move on to the next lap. Once everyone pits, I'm assuming we'll be in P4. Let's see. Once everyone pits, yeah, we will be in P4, so that's good. And Sainz is P5, and Ricciardo somehow was able to get ahead of Norris, and now he's trying to make an overtake on Sainz, and I think he's actually just done it, but Sainz eventually does get past, so Ricciardo is actually the one that I'm starting to fear about, maybe coming at the end of the race and trying to overtake us. We move on a little bit later, and Sainz and Ricciardo are still P5 and P6. I think they're still battling, but they are getting closer to me as we now move on a little bit later on and to the final lap of the race. Ricciardo and Sainz now battling out once again, but unfortunately they have gained the gap on me, and they're now 1.6 seconds to me. So this is actually starting to look not too comfortable as I was thinking, but we come to the final few corners and they still have that gap. It's going to be P4. We have gone from 18th on the grid to 4th place and have beaten all 4 drivers that we were expected to beat at the start of the Grand Prix. So we're going to come across the line with Valtteri Bottas winning the race, and playing as Aiden Jackson, we're going to beat the objective.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
So Mercedes have won it, and what a great race it was. The midfield here in France.
That's certainly much better from Racing Point. Frankly, they should be in the mix more often. On a good day, they're as good as anyone in that midfield pack.
And they've certainly proved it today. So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts.
So, Aiden, it's a great result for you here today. The team must be delighted with a solid points finish. How are you feeling?
Ooh, interesting. First post-race interview, and I'm going to say it's a solid result, but we still need some improvement.
Yeah, I'm good. It's a solid result, but there's always room for improvement. I'm sure we'll be looking at all the data from today and working out how we can build on it for the rest of the season.
Well, it's such a great result, especially since it's your first season in Formula One. Would you say you found your feet now since the jump to F1?
I think I'm going to go for the bottom one because change is always difficult. From Formula 2 to Formula 1, it's a huge difference, and I think I am starting to settle in with the team.
I think there's always going to be hurdles. And look, you never know what's around the corner. Change is always difficult, but I think I'm settling in. The team seems happy at least.
So there's no current tensions within the team? We've all seen that you and Casper have locked horns so far this season. Is that something that's now behind you?
For this question, I'm going to go for the left answer, as there's always going to be a settling in period. It doesn't matter who you're going to be paired with. That's just called a racing team. And I don't want to do the no comment approach because I kind of want to just do a neutral answer here.
I think there's always going to be a settling in period. It doesn't matter who you're paired up with. You've got to have a strong character to do what we do. We may have our differences, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Before we move on with the story, we can see the news articles of, first off, Aiden Jackson kind of finding his feet in Formula 1. That's great to see, but also you can see a little news article there of Sebastian Vettel leaving Scuderia Ferrari. Love these little news articles where it's like the first one was Aston Martin, now this is Ferrari. But let's take a look at social media and see what everyone's talking about. But oh, it looks like we're getting a phone call.
Brian.
Aiden, just so you know, there's a full team meeting in 20 minutes.
No worries.
We just want to review our strategy while the race is still fresh in our minds.
Right, okay. I'll see you there.
Listen, while you're on, I just wanted to say that was some solid driving out there today. I'm impressed.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Brian.
Put it this way, it's been noticed. Well done, kid. I'll see you in the meeting.
So Brian was just giving us a phone call just to say congratulations on beating the objective and claiming 4th best ever result in Breaking Point so far. And I'm going to stop myself right here because our mother is calling us, and so let's see what she has to say.
Hey, Mom.
Hello, love. Just calling to say well done, as usual. You okay?
Thanks, Mum. Yeah, I'm good. Real good. I think I delivered today.
I thought so. And I think the neighbors probably did too. I couldn't stop shouting.
Oh, not again.
I'm so proud of you, Aiden.
Hey, it's Silverstone soon.
So does that mean you'll be home for a few days?
Probably. I'll try and get over for a day or two, either side of race weekend.
You know, Silverstone was always your dad's favorite track.
I know. You're still coming to the race, right?
Do you really think I'd miss out on the VIP treatment? Of course I'm coming. I just wish it wasn't on my own, you know?
Yeah, I know, but I'll be there. And I can't wait to see you.
Me too. Anyway, I won't keep you. I imagine you want to go and celebrate. Well done again. Love you.
Love you too, Mum. Speak soon.
So that phone call highlighted that the British Grand Prix is up next, so we'll be going to Silverstone in Chapter 4. And it also sounds like that Aiden Jackson's mother will be coming to the British Grand Prix weekend. So that's the end of Chapter 3. Chapter 4 will be releasing very soon. A quick review from Chapter 3 saw Aiden Jackson come home from P18 to P4 to secure the objective by beating both Renault and McLaren cars. I was very happy with the performance that we put on today, but it's not over yet. Next up is Silverstone, which is our home Grand Prix, and hopefully we can get a good result then. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed Chapter 3, hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more Breaking Point content on this YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button down below. That's it from me, guys. See you for Chapter 4's video, and peace out.